He opened the security app expecting to catch her breaking protocol. 17 caregivers before her had failed, stolen from him, pitied his daughters, treated them like broken dolls instead of children. So when he saw 4 empty beds in the middle of the playroom at 2 in the afternoon, his stomach dropped. Then he heard it. Laughter. Pure, unrestrained laughter from daughters who hadn't made a sound in 8 months. Marcus Chen's phone slipped from his hands. His back hit the office wall. And the man who'd built a $3 billion tech empire by controlling every variable watched his carefully constructed world shatter on a 6-inch screen. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. 18 months ago, Marcus Chen had everything a man could want. A penthouse in Manhattan, a compound in Connecticut with 14 bedrooms and 8 acres of manicured grounds, stock options that made him richer while he slept, and a wife who made him believe that success and happiness could live in the same house. Victoria Chen, daughter of old San Francisco money, Yale law graduate, partner at the city's most prestigious firm. She was brilliant, driven, and when she looked at Marcus, he felt like he'd finally arrived at a place where he belonged. The quadruplets came after 6 years of trying. 4 perfect daughters delivered at 33 weeks. Scarlet, Jade, Willow, Iris. Named for colors Victoria said she wanted their lives to be painted with. The NICU nurses called them the Chen miracles, 4 premature babies who fought their way into the world with matching determination. Marcus held each one on his chest during those first fragile weeks. Scarlet with her fierce grip. Jade, who slept like she was storing energy for future battles. Willow so still and observant. Iris, always reaching for her sister's hands through the isolette walls. They're going to change the world. Victoria whispered one night in the NICU, her hand on Marcus's shoulder. I can feel it. 3 months later, the girls came home. The nursery Victoria designed waited for them, soft greys and whites, 4 cribs in a semicircle, a mobile of stars that played Brahms' lullaby. She'd painted a mural herself on one wall, 4 trees growing toward each other until their branches intertwined. For 8 perfect months, life made sense. Marcus would wake at 5:30, check on the girls before his morning run, head to his office in Manhattan. Victoria worked from home 2 days a week, kept her cases manageable, said nothing mattered more than being present for their daughter's first year. The girls developed on schedule, rolling over, sitting up, babbling, 4 different personalities emerging. Scarlet always first to try something new, Jade cautious but determined, Willow content to watch her sisters, Iris the peacemaker already at 8 months old. Then came the virus. The doctors would later explain it was respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, common in infants, usually manageable, rarely serious. But the quadruplets caught it simultaneously. Their premature lungs made them vulnerable. High fevers, breathing difficulties. All 4 rushed to the hospital in the same ambulance, Victoria in the back with them, Marcus following in his car, hands shaking so badly he could barely grip the steering wheel. They stabilized. The fevers broke, the breathing improved. After 5 days, the doctors said they could go home, but something had changed. The pediatric ophthalmologist came in on day 3. Dr. Sarah Winters, who'd been monitoring the girls since birth because of their prematurity. She had that look on her face the one doctors wear when they're about to destroy your world with clinical terminology. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I need to discuss the girls' vision. Marcus remembered every word of what came next, how Dr. Winters explained that the high fevers had caused inflammation, how that inflammation had damaged the optic nerves in all 4 babies simultaneously, a catastrophic statistical anomaly, how the damage was bilateral, complete, and irreversible. Your daughters are blind, she said, not visually impaired, not limited vision, blind. Victoria made a sound Marcus had never heard before, not quite a scream, something deeper, like her body was rejecting the information at a cellular level. All 4? Marcus heard himself ask. All of them? Doctor. Winters nodded. I'm so sorry. We'll refer you to pediatric specialists, early intervention services. There are schools, resources. But Marcus stopped hearing. He was watching his daughters through the observation window, Scarlet reaching toward sounds, Jade turning her head, searching for light that would never come. Willow so still. Iris crying, her small hands grasping at nothing. They brought the girls home to a house that suddenly felt like a museum. All those carefully chosen colors, Victoria had named them after colors they would never see. The star mobile spinning above empty cribs, the intertwined trees on the wall reaching toward each other in a mural his daughters would never witness. Victoria lasted 4 months. Marcus watched her unravel slowly. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly, would sit in the nursery at 2 in the morning, just sitting, staring at the girls. She hired the first specialist, then the second, then the 10th, flew in experts from Boston, California, Switzerland, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing a miracle that didn't exist. There has to be something, she'd say, her voice getting more frantic with each negative report. There has to be a surgery, a treatment, something, but there wasn't. Marcus came home from work one evening. He'd been staying later at the office, unable to bear watching Victoria's hope die a little more each day, and found her in their bedroom. Suitcases, packed, face blank. "I can't do this," she said, not crying, past crying. "I look at them, and all I see is everything they'll never have. Every color they'll never know. Every sunset, every face. I can't breathe here anymore." "They're our daughters," Marcus said. His voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. "I know." Victoria's hands were shaking. "And that makes me the worst person alive. But Marcus, I'm drowning. I wake up every morning and I'm drowning. If I stay, I'm going to take all of you down with me." She left that night, drove away from the Connecticut compound in her Tesla, headed to her parents' house in California. The divorce papers arrived 6 weeks later. She signed away all parental rights, put the girls' trust funds in Marcus's sole control, asked only that he not contact her, that he let her grieve the daughters she'd lost, even though they were still alive. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus. His daughters couldn't see, and their mother couldn't bear to look. After Victoria left, Marcus did what he did best. He built systems, created protocols, turned love into logistics because logistics he could control. He installed cameras in every room, 43 feeds covering every angle of the 14-bedroom compound, motion sensors, audio monitoring. A command center in his office with 3 wall-mounted screens that let him watch his daughters from anywhere in the world. The first caregiver lasted 9 days. Janet, 62, came highly recommended, had 20 years of experience with special needs children. She quit after Marcus called her at 11 at night to ask why she'd repositioned Jade's playmat 3 inches to the left. "Mr. Chen," she said carefully, "I understand you're concerned, but you're watching every single thing I do. I can't work like this." "I'm paying you $12,000 a month," Marcus replied. "I think that buys me the right to ensure my daughters are properly cared for." "It buys you a caregiver, not a performing seal." She was gone by morning. The second caregiver, Patricia, made it 3 weeks. Marcus fired her when she appeared in a tabloid photo. Someone had recognized her coming out of the compound gates, paid her $800 for an interview about the tragic Chen quadruplets. The third stole jewelry. The fourth posted photos of the girls on her private Instagram, which turned out to be not so private when a gossip site picked them up. The fifth was found searching through Victoria's old closet, trying on her designer shoes. Marcus stopped counting after 12. He developed a checklist. Background investigations that went back 3 generations. Social media audits, financial history reviews, psychological evaluations. He had potential caregivers sign NDAs so ironclad his lawyers called them medieval. But nothing worked, because the women who could pass his screening process couldn't handle his surveillance, and the ones who might have genuinely loved his daughters never got through the door. His business partner, David, tried to talk to him about it during a board meeting Marcus had dialed into from his home office. 3 security feeds visible behind him on his monitor. "Marcus, you're watching them right now, aren't you? I'm listening to the meeting. You're watching your daughters while pretending to listen to the meeting. This is man. You're unraveling. I'm being careful. You're being paranoid. You've gone through 17 caregivers in 14 months. The problem isn't them. It's you." Marcus ended the call. He knew David was right. Somewhere beneath the protocols and the surveillance and the NDAs, he knew. But knowing didn't change anything. Because every time he let his guard down, every time he trusted, someone proved he shouldn't have. His daughters were 4 years old now. They should have been learning letters, making friends, going to preschool. Instead, they sat in their playroom perfectly safe, perfectly monitored, perfectly alone, while their father watched through screens and convinced himself this was protection instead of prison. The 17th caregiver quit on a Tuesday, walked out in the middle of her shift, left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry. They deserve better than this. So do you." That night, Marcus sat in his office, 3 monitors glowing in the darkness. He watched his daughters sleep in their specially designed beds with rails so they wouldn't fall, monitors that tracked their breathing, speakers that let him hear every sound they made. Scarlett slept curled tight, like she was protecting herself even in dreams. Jade starfish spread, taking up as much space as possible. Willow on her side, one hand stretched toward where Iris's bed sat 3 feet away. Iris restless, turning, never quite settling. They were beautiful. They were growing. They would never see their own faces, and Marcus had run out of people willing to help him raise them. He pulled up the agency contact on his phone, stared at it, put the phone down, picked it up again. "I need someone," he typed. "Anyone left on your roster. I don't care about credentials anymore. Just someone who won't quit." The response came at midnight. "We have one option. Elena Rodriguez, 53 years old, no formal training in childcare or special needs, works as a housekeeper. But she has something 17 caregivers, didn't she? Specifically asked for your family after hearing about your situation, said she felt called to help. No idea what that means, but she's available for an interview tomorrow if you want to meet her." Marcus stared at the message. A housekeeper with no training who felt called to help. This was desperation hiring. This was scraping the absolute bottom. "Send her," he typed back. 9 a.m. He closed his laptop, turned off 2 of the 3 monitors, left one running, always one running, and went to bed without bothering to hope. Hope was what Victoria had done. Hope was what led to devastation. He would try one more time, and when this Elena Rodriguez failed like all the others, he'd figure something else out. He always did. Elena Rodriguez arrived at exactly 9 o'clock. Marcus watched her through the security camera at the front gate, an older woman, grey streaking through dark hair pulled into a neat bun, driving a 15-year-old Honda Civic that had seen better decades. She didn't gawk at the compound the way most people did, didn't crane her neck to see the main house or the grounds. Just pulled up to the gate, rolled down her window, and smiled at the camera like she was greeting an old friend. "Good morning," she said to the intercom. "I'm Elena Rodriguez. I'm here to meet Mr. Chen about his daughters." His daughters. Not the position, not the job, his daughters. Marcus pressed the button to open the gate. She parked in the circular drive, got out slowly, arthritis. Maybe, or just the careful movement of someone who'd worked hard jobs for many years. She wore simple black pants and a white blouse, both ironed carefully, no jewelry except a small gold cross on a chain. She carried a purse that looked like it had been bought at Target a decade ago and a worn leather Bible. Marcus met her at the front door. Up close, she was shorter than he expected, maybe 5'3", warm brown eyes, hands that showed years of work cleaning, cooking, caring for things and people. "Mr. Chen," she said, extending her hand. "Thank you for seeing me." Her grip was firm. Honest. She met his eyes directly. "You understand this isn't a housekeeping position," Marcus said without preamble. "It's childcare, 4 children with significant special needs. And you have no training in that area." "That's true," Elena agreed. "I've cleaned houses for 30 years, raised 3 sons, all grown now. But I've never worked with blind children specifically." "Then why are you here?" Elena was quiet for a moment. Then, "May I be honest with you, Mr. Chen? Please. 2 weeks ago, I was cleaning a house in Greenwich. The woman who lives there mentioned your family. She said 17 caregivers had quit. She said you were difficult, demanding, impossible to work for." Elena's expression didn't change, and something in my spirit said, "Those babies need someone who won't quit." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "My spirit? That's your qualification? A feeling?" "No, sir. My qualification is that I know what it means to stay when staying is hard. I know what it means to love children who need more than most people are willing to give. And I know what it means to work for someone who's terrified of being disappointed again." The words landed like a physical blow. Marcus stared at this woman who'd known him for 90 seconds and already seen through every wall he'd built. "I have very strict protocols," he said, his voice harder than he intended. "Cameras in every room. I watch the feeds. Constantly. I will question your decisions. I will expect detailed reports on everything you do with my daughters. Most people can't handle that level of scrutiny." "Most people aren't me," Elena said simply. "The last caregiver lasted 9 days before my monitoring drove her to quit." "Then she wasn't the right person." Elena adjusted her purse on her shoulder. "Mr. Chen, I'm not here to tell you how to parent. I'm not here to judge your fears. I'm here to care for your daughters. If watching me do that makes you feel safer, then watch. I have nothing to hide." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. In 18 months, no one had ever simply accepted his surveillance. They'd all fought it, resented it, eventually quit over it. "The pay is $12,000 a month," he said, testing her. "Live-in, private suite on the 2nd floor, 2 days off per week, but you're on call the other 5 nights in case of emergencies." "That's very generous. It's hazard pay." "For dealing with me." Elena smiled, genuinely smiled. "I've dealt with worse than a worried father, Mr. Chen. May I meet your daughters now?" Marcus led her through the house. He watched her take it in the marble floors, the cathedral ceilings, the art that cost more than most people's houses. She didn't seem impressed, didn't seem intimidated, just walked calmly beside him like she belonged in spaces like this, even though her car said she definitely didn't. "They're in the playroom," Marcus said as they approached the door. "I should warn you, they're not. They don't respond well to strangers anymore. Too many people have come and gone." "That's understandable," Elena said quietly. Marcus opened the door. The playroom was 40 feet by 30 feet bigger than most apartments, soft foam flooring in grey, sensory toys organized precisely on low shelves, 4 specialized beds arranged against one wall for nap time, and in the center of the room, 4 little girls sat in a tight cluster, like baby birds, huddled in a nest. Scarlett sat with her back straight, her face turned toward the door, tracking sounds. At 4.5, she already had her mother's bone structure, her serious expression. Her hands rested on her knees, careful, controlled. Jade sat beside her, one hand on Scarlett's shoulder. Where Scarlett was control, Jade was coiled energy. Her head moved constantly, processing sounds, building a map of her world through audio. Willow leaned against Jade, the smallest of the 4, quiet as her name suggested. She held a soft, textured ball, her fingers moving over its surface slowly, memorizing every bump and ridge. And Iris sat slightly apart, turned toward her sisters but not quite touching them. The peacemaker, the observer, the one who Marcus suspected understood more than anyone gave her credit for. None of them smiled when the door opened. None of them called out "Daddy" the way children were supposed to. They just went still, waiting to see if this new stranger would be like all the others. Marcus felt the familiar ache in his chest. Elena didn't rush forward, didn't use that bright, false voice people used with children they pitied. She just stood in the doorway and spoke quietly. "Hello, girls. My name is Elena." Scarlett's head tilted slightly. "You sound old," Marcus winced. "Scarlett, that's not..." But Elena laughed, warm and real. "I am old, sweetheart, 53 years old. Very wise from being so old." "How old is that?" Jade asked. "Old enough that my knees crack when I kneel down. Want to hear?" Elena lowered herself slowly to the floor, and her knees did indeed crack audibly. Willow giggled, the first sound of amusement Marcus had heard from his daughters in weeks. "That's funny," Willow said. "It is funny," Elena agreed. "Getting old is funny. Everything makes noise. I creak like a door." "Does it hurt?" Iris asked quietly. "Sometimes," Elena said honestly, "but that's okay. Some things are worth the hurt." She was sitting on the floor now, cross-legged, at their level. Marcus watched from the doorway, one hand on his phone in his pocket, ready to pull up the security feed app if he needed to watch this from multiple angles. "Can I tell you girls something?" Elena asked. 4 heads turned toward her voice. "I can't see what you look like yet. I mean, my eyes work, but I can't really see you. You know why?" Silence. "Because I don't know you yet. And you can't really see someone until you know them. So even though you can't see me with your eyes, that's okay. We'll get to know each other the way that matters slowly, truly, with time. Scarlett's hands unclenched slightly. Our mummy left because we're blind, she said. Flat. Factual. A truth that lived in her body. Marcus felt like he'd been stabbed. Elena was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. Your mummy left because her heart was broken. That's about her, not about you. You are not the reason people leave. You're the reason the right people stay. Nobody stays, Jade said. I do, Elena said simply. I stay. Everyone says that, Scarlett countered. Then I'll have to show you instead of tell you. Words are easy. Staying is the hard part. But I'm good at hard things. Willow scooted forward an inch. What's your name again? Elena. Elena Rodriguez. That's long, Iris observed. It is long. You can call me Miss Elena, or just Elena. Or, when we know each other better, maybe something else. We'll figure it out together. Do you know how to take care of blind kids? Scarlett asked. Still testing? Still protecting her sisters? No, Elena admitted. I've never done that before. So you'll have to teach me. You'll have to tell me when I get it wrong. Can you do that? The honesty seemed to surprise them. Adults didn't usually admit they didn't know things. We can teach you, Willow said softly. Good, because I'm a very good learner. Elena stood up slowly, her knees cracking again. Jade laughed this time. Mr. Chen, may I spend some time with the girls? Just sitting, getting to know them? Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. I'll be watching, he said. I know, Elena said. That's okay. Marcus left the room and went straight to his office, pulled up the playroom camera feed, watched Elena settle back down onto the floor with his daughters. She didn't try to organize them or redirect them or start therapy exercises. She just sat, and after a few minutes, she started humming. Low, soft, a melody Marcus didn't recognize. Something old, something that sounded like comfort. Iris moved first, scooted closer to Elena's voice, then Willow, then Jade. Scarlett held out the longest, watching not with her eyes, but with her whole body, the way blind children watch. Finally, she moved too, just a little closer. And Elena kept humming, kept sitting, kept being present without demanding anything in return. Marcus watched his daughters arrange themselves around this stranger like flowers turning toward the sun. He told himself it wouldn't last. It never lasted. But for the first time in 18 months, he found himself hoping he was wrong. Elena moved into the compound that evening. Marcus showed her to her suite, 2 rooms on the 2nd floor, a bedroom and a small sitting area, private bathroom, windows overlooking the gardens. This is more than I need, Elena said, setting down her single duffel bag. It's what's available, Marcus replied. Dinner is at 6. The girls eat in the kitchen. Their meal plan is on the refrigerator, specific textures, temperatures, presentation. The nutritionist was very particular. I'll review it, Elena said. Their bedtime is 7:30, bath time before that, in the specially designed bathroom adjacent to their bedroom, non-slip everything, temperature-controlled faucets. The routine is written out. Mr. Chen, Elena said gently, may I ask you something? Marcus tensed. What? When's the last time you held them? Your daughters? The question hit like a punch. That's not relevant to... When's the last time you just sat with them? Not managing, not monitoring. Just being their father? Marcus felt his face flush. I'm ensuring they're cared for properly. That's what a father does. That's what a manager does, Elena said quietly. A father does that too, but a father also shows up. Not just through screens. You've been here 4 hours, Marcus said coldly. You don't get to judge how I parent. You're right. I apologize. Elena's voice was steady, not defensive. I'll follow your protocols, Mr. Chen, but I hope one day you'll let yourself do more than watch. She turned away, began unpacking her small bag. Marcus left without another word, his chest tight with something he refused to name. That night, he watched the monitors as Elena gave the girls their bath. She followed the written routine exactly, water temperature checked, non-slip mats positioned, towels warmed. But she also sang to them. Soft Spanish songs Marcus didn't understand, but that made his daughters smile. She followed the dinner protocol, correct textures, correct temperatures, each girl's plate arranged the way the nutritionist specified. But she also described the food to them in ways that made them curious instead of wary. "This is chicken, Scarlett. It's warm and a little bit crispy on the outside, soft inside. Like a surprise." "I like surprises," Scarlett said. "I know you do. You're brave like that." At bedtime, Marcus watched Elena tuck each girl into her specialized bed. She followed the routine. Stuffed animals positioned where each child could find them, night lights set to the approved dim setting, sound machine turned to white noise at the specified volume. But then she did something that wasn't in any protocol. She knelt beside each bed and whispered something to each girl. Marcus turned up the audio feed, straining to hear. "Proud of you today, Jade. You were so strong. Love how careful you are, Willow. You notice everything. You make your sisters feel safe, Iris. That's a gift. You're a leader, Scarlett. And leaders need rest too." When Elena left the room, all 4 girls were smiling in the dark. Marcus sat in his office, staring at the monitors, his throat impossibly tight. The next morning, he found Elena in the kitchen at 5:30 a.m., making breakfast. Not the pre-prepared smoothies the nutritionist had specified for breakfast. Real food, scrambled eggs, toast cut into strips, fruit sliced carefully. "This isn't the meal plan," Marcus said from the doorway. Elena didn't startle, just kept cooking. "The meal plan has them drinking cold smoothies for breakfast. They're 4 years old. They need warm food. Real food they can touch and smell and taste. The nutritionist doesn't live with them." "I do." Elena plated the food carefully. "If you want to fire me for giving children real breakfast, that's your right. But I'm going to feed them first." Marcus opened his mouth to argue, closed it. Watched her carry the plates to the table where his daughters waited. "Smells good," Jade said, her nose lifted. "It is good," Elena confirmed. "I made it for you with love." "What's that mean?" Iris asked. "It means I was thinking about you while I cooked it, thinking about how you'd smile when you tasted it. That's what love is, doing things while thinking about the person you're doing them for." Marcus backed away from the kitchen before they could sense him there, went to his office, pulled up the feeds, watched his daughters eat real food, smiling, chatting with Elena about their dreams from the night before. He should fire her. She was breaking protocol on day 2. Instead, he called the nutritionist and asked if warm breakfasts would be acceptable. 3 weeks passed. Marcus watched every minute. He watched Elena move the girls' beds closer together against the spacing protocol so they could hold hands while falling asleep. He watched her introduce music, not the approved classical therapy tracks, but old songs she sang in Spanish, in English, songs that made his daughters clap and sway. He watched her take them outside, against every safety concern he documented, letting them feel grass beneath their feet, wind on their faces, sun on their skin. "You're breaking protocols," he told her one evening. "Your protocols were keeping them safe," Elena agreed, "but they were also keeping them alone. There's a difference between protection and prison, Mr. Chen. You don't understand. I understand you're terrified. I understand you've been hurt by 17 people who quit. I understand you think if you control everything, nothing bad can happen." Elena's voice was gentle. "But your daughters aren't growing, Mr. Chen. They're existing. And that's not enough." Marcus wanted to fire her, should have fired her, but he kept watching the monitors and seeing things that stopped his breath. Week 4. Scarlett laughing at something Elena said, a sound Marcus hadn't heard since before Victoria left. Week 5. Jade asking Elena to teach her to cook, her small hands guided carefully through mixing batter, her face bright with concentration and pride. Week 6. Willow speaking more, her quiet voice growing stronger, telling Elena about dreams of flying, of seeing colors she'd never witnessed but somehow understood existed. Week 7. Iris calling Elena Miss Lena, in a voice so full of affection that Marcus had to pause the footage and sit in darkness, his face in his hands. His daughters were blooming. Not despite Elena's protocol breaking, because of it. Marcus started doing research. Late at night, after the house went quiet, he'd search medical journals, blindness resources, developmental psychology papers. He found studies about blind children who thrived versus those who merely survived. The difference wasn't expensive equipment or rigid protocols, it was human connection, touch, voice, presence. Love given freely without fear. Everything Elena was doing, everything he'd been afraid of, was what the research said his daughters needed. He'd been so focused on keeping them safe, he'd forgotten to help them live. One morning, Marcus woke early, went downstairs, found Elena in the kitchen and his 4 daughters at the table, laughing. They didn't hear him in the doorway. "Tell us the story again," Scarlett begged. "About the butterfly?" Elena asked. "Yes." Elena settled into her chair. "Once there was a little girl who couldn't see, and she was very sad about it. She thought she was missing everything beautiful in the world. The girls were silent, listening. One day, a butterfly landed on her hand. She couldn't see its colors, couldn't see its wings, but she could feel it so delicate, so light, like a whisper touching her skin, and she realized something important." "What?" Willow whispered. "That beauty isn't just what we see, it's what we feel, what we see, hear, what we know in our hearts." The butterfly taught her that she wasn't missing anything at all. She was just experiencing it differently. And different can be just as beautiful. Iris was crying. Not sad crying. Something else. "I wish I could feel a butterfly," she said. "Maybe one day you will," Elena said gently. "And when you do, you'll appreciate it more than people who can see ever could. Because you'll really pay attention." Marcus backed away before they could hear him, went to his office, sat at his desk. His daughters weren't broken. They never had been. He was the one who'd been broken. Broken by fear, by betrayal, by the crushing weight of trying to control an uncontrollable world. And this woman, this housekeeper with no formal training, just a worn Bible and a heart that refused to give up, she was showing him what he'd forgotten. Love isn't about control, it's about trust. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. 8 weeks after Elena arrived, Marcus had a meeting in Manhattan. Important clients. A deal worth $40 million. He couldn't miss it. "I'll be home by 7, he told Elena that morning. "We'll be fine," she assured him. Marcus drove to the city, his mind half on the presentation, half on the security feeds he could pull up on his phone. He made it through the morning, closed the deal, shook hands, smiled at people who told him he looked tired. By 2 p.m., he couldn't focus anymore. He pulled out his phone, opened the security app, scanned through the camera feeds. Living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Playroom, empty. Marcus's heart stopped. 4 empty beds. No daughters, no Elena. He scrolled frantically through every camera. Nothing. The house was empty. His hands shook as he called Elena's cell. It rang and rang. Went to voicemail. He called the landline. No answer. Panic clawed at his chest. Every nightmare he'd ever had crystallized in this moment. They were gone. Kidnapped. Something terrible had happened and he wasn't there. And then he heard it. Through the phone, still connected to the house system, audio bleeding through from somewhere the cameras couldn't see. Laughter. Marcus switched to the outdoor camera feeds. The back garden. The area beyond the pool he'd locked off because it was too far from the house, too hard to monitor properly. There. He saw them. 4 little girls. His 4 little girls. Not in their beds. Not in their safe, monitored playroom. They were standing. Walking. Moving through the garden with their hands outstretched, their faces turned toward the sun, their mouths open in laughter that sounded like freedom. And Elena walked behind them, not holding them, not controlling them, just following, her hands ready to catch, but not constraining, letting them explore. Marcus watched Scarlett take 5 steps on her own, her hands finding the bark of a tree, her face breaking into the biggest smile he'd ever seen. Watched Jade crouch down and touch grass, then dirt, her fingers exploring textures she'd only felt through the sanitized safety of indoor play. Watched Willow actually spin her arms out, her face tilted to the sky, laughing as she felt wind on her face. Watched Iris follow Elena's voice, walking toward it confidently, trusting that the ground would hold her, that the world wasn't something to fear. His daughters were walking, really walking, not just between beds and chairs in monitored rooms. They were exploring, living, being children. And he'd almost fired the woman who made it possible because she broke his protocols. Marcus's phone slipped from his hands, clattered onto the conference room table. His entire body was shaking. 8 weeks ago, his daughters barely moved unless guided. They sat in their beds, in their designated safe spaces, existing but not living. Now they were walking through a garden, touching trees, feeling grass, laughing like the children they were supposed to be. The realization broke him. He'd been so busy protecting them from danger, he'd protected them from life. Marcus stood abruptly, not caring that he was in the middle of a meeting, that important people were staring at him. "I have to go home," he said. "Marcus, we just closed. I have to go home. Now." He ran from the building, from the deal, from everything. Drove home doing 90 on the parkway, his hands white-knuckled on the wheel, his chest cracking open with something that felt like grief and joy and shame all tangled together. He pulled into the compound, ran through the house, out the back doors. They were still there. Elena saw him first. Her eyes met his across the garden, and she understood immediately what he'd seen, what he was feeling. "Daddy?" Scarlett's head turned toward the sound of his running footsteps. "Daddy, you're home." All 4 girls turned toward his voice, their faces bright. Marcus dropped to his knees in the grass. His daughters ran to him, actually ran, stumbling, unsteady, but moving, and crashed into his arms. He gathered all 4 of them against his chest and started crying. Deep, shaking sobs that he couldn't control, that he'd been holding back for 18 months, that finally broke free. "We're outside, Daddy," Iris said proudly. "We're being brave." "We touched trees," Jade added. "They're bumpy." "Miss Lena taught us to walk," Willow said. "With our hands out, we can feel everything." "Are you crying?" Scarlett asked, her small hands finding his face, touching his tears. "Are you sad?" "No," Marcus managed. "No, baby. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud." He looked up at Elena over his daughters' heads. She stood a few feet away, giving them space, her own eyes wet. "How?" His voice cracked. "How did you do this?" "I didn't do anything," Elena said softly. "They did it. I just believed they could." Marcus held his daughters tighter. 8 weeks. That's all it took for someone who actually saw them, really saw them, to help them find their strength. And he'd spent 18 months keeping them safe in prison built from his own fear. "I'm sorry," he whispered to his daughters. "I'm so sorry I was afraid to let you try." "It's okay, Daddy," Scarlett said. "Miss Lena says everyone gets scared sometimes, even grown-ups." "Especially grown-ups," Elena added quietly. Marcus looked at this woman who'd broken all his rules and given his daughters their lives back. "Thank you," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you for not giving up on them." "I never would," Elena said simply. "They're worth staying for." Marcus sat in that garden, his 4 daughters in his arms, the sun on their faces, and felt something he hadn't felt since Victoria left. Hope, real hope. The kind that doesn't depend on control or protocols or perfect safety. The kind that requires trust. Marcus drove home from Manhattan in silence. His hands were still shaking. The image burned into his mind, his 4 daughters walking through the garden, their faces turned toward the sun, laughing like children were supposed to laugh. He pulled into the compound. Sat in his car for a long moment. 8 weeks ago, his daughters barely moved unless someone positioned them carefully. They sat in designated safe spaces, existing but not living. Now they were exploring. Walking, being children, and he'd been so busy watching through screens, he'd almost missed it. Marcus finally got out of the car, walked slowly toward the house. His chest felt like it was cracking open. He found Elena in the kitchen, preparing dinner. The girls were in the playroom, their voices drifting down the hallway, actual conversation, actual laughter. "Mr. Chen," Elena said, looking up. "I didn't expect you back so early." Marcus stood in the doorway, opened his mouth. No words came. Elena set down the knife she'd been using. "Are you all right?" "I saw them," Marcus finally managed. "On the security feed, in the garden." Elena went very still. "I know I broke protocol. I should have asked permission before taking them outside that far, but they were ready. And they were walking," Marcus interrupted. His voice cracked. "My daughters were walking, really walking, not just between furniture in safe rooms. They were exploring, living." Elena nodded slowly. "Yes, they were. The doctors said they'd need assistance their whole lives, that independence would be limited." That we should prepare for. Marcus stopped. His throat was too tight. How did you do it? I didn't do it, Mr. Chen. They did. I just believed they could. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. His legs felt weak. For 18 months, I've been so focused on keeping them safe that I never asked if they could do more. I just accepted what the first doctors said. Accepted that their blindness meant limitation. I built a prison and called it protection. You were afraid, Elena said gently. Fear makes us hold too tight. I watched 17 people come through that door. 17 people I paid to care for my daughters, and every single one either quit or betrayed me or proved I couldn't trust them. Marcus's voice was shaking now. So I stopped trusting. I installed cameras, created protocols, turned my home into a surveillance state, and I told myself it was about protecting my daughters. But really, he stopped. The truth was too painful. Really, you were protecting yourself, Elena finished quietly, from being hurt again, from trusting again, from hoping again. Marcus pressed his palms against his eyes. My wife left because she couldn't handle their blindness. She looked at our daughters and saw everything they'd never have, every color they'd never see, every sunset, every face, and she chose to leave rather than stay and love them anyway. I know, Elena said. The girls told me. They remember? They remember how it felt. That's a different kind of memory. Marcus lowered his hands. I thought if I controlled everything, every variable, every risk, every moment, I could prevent more loss. I could keep them safe. But I wasn't keeping them safe. I was keeping them small. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then, may I tell you something, Mr. Chen, please. Your daughters are remarkable. All 4 of them. Scarlet is brave and fierce. Jade is determined and strong. Willow is observant and thoughtful. Iris is compassionate and wise. But none of them believe they're remarkable. Do you know why? Marcus shook his head, not trusting his voice. Because the people who were supposed to show them their mother, their specialists, even you looked at them and saw limitations first. Saw blindness before you saw children. Saw what they couldn't do before you saw what they could. The words hit like physical blows. I'm not trying to hurt you, Elena continued gently. I'm trying to help you see. Your daughters don't need perfect safety. They need a father who believes in them, who sees possibilities instead of dangers, who loves them enough to let them try and fail and try again. Marcus slid down the doorframe until he was sitting on the kitchen floor, his face in his hands, shoulders shaking. I've failed them, he whispered. For 18 months, I've failed them every single day. Elena crossed the kitchen, sat down on the floor beside him, didn't touch him, just sat close. You didn't fail them, Mr. Chen. You were drowning, and drowning people grab onto anything that feels like control. But now, she paused, now you have a choice. You can keep drowning, or you can let go and learn to swim. I don't know how, Marcus said. His voice was breaking. I don't know how to be what they need. Yes, you do. You're just afraid. What if I try and I'm still not enough? What if you try and discover you're exactly enough? Elena interrupted gently. What if your daughters don't need a perfect father? What if they just need you present, trying, showing up even when it's hard? Marcus looked at her through blurred vision. This woman who'd walked into his broken family 8 weeks ago with nothing but faith and a worn Bible. This woman who'd loved his daughters without hesitation, without protocols, without fear. Thank you, he whispered, for not giving up on them, for seeing what I was too blind to see. I didn't do it alone, Elena said. Your daughters taught me as much as I taught them. They showed me that broken things can heal, that people who've been hurt can learn to trust again. That love doesn't require sight, it requires presence. From the playroom, they heard Scarlet call out, Miss Elena, is Daddy home? He is, Elena called back. Can he come play with us? The question hung in the air. Marcus looked at Elena, fear written all over his face. Go, she said softly. They're waiting for you. What if I don't know what to say? What if? Then you'll learn, one moment at a time. Elena stood, offered him her hand. Come on. Your daughters want their father. Marcus let her pull him to his feet, walked slowly down the hallway toward the playroom. Each step felt impossible. Each step felt necessary. He stood in the doorway. 4 girls sat in a circle on the floor, toys arranged around them. When they heard him, 4 faces turned toward his voice. "Hi, Daddy," Iris said softly. Marcus's throat closed. When was the last time he'd just sat with them? Not to check on them, not to supervise a caregiver, just to be with them? He couldn't remember. "Hi, baby girls," he managed. "Do you want to play with us?" Willow asked. I don't know how to play your games." "That's okay," Jade said matter-of-factly. "We'll teach you." Scarlet patted the floor beside her. "Sit here, Daddy. Right here." Marcus walked into the room, sat down on the soft foam floor where Scarlet indicated. His 4 daughters immediately rearranged themselves, moving closer to him. Iris climbed into his lap. Willow leaned against his side. Jade pressed her shoulder against his. Scarlet took his hand and placed it on a textured ball. "This is our favorite," Scarlet explained. "It has bumps you can count. Miss Elena got it for us." Marcus held the ball, felt the bumps beneath his fingers. His daughters were teaching him how to experience the world the way they did, through touch, through sound, through presence. "Tell us about your day, Daddy," Willow said. "My day? Miss Elena always asks us about our day. She says it's important to share." "So tell us about yours." Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. He'd spent 18 months giving orders, reviewing reports, managing logistics. He'd never just talked to his daughters. I had meetings," he started, "about business, but I couldn't focus because I kept thinking about you 4. "Why?" Jade asked. "Because I miss you when I'm gone. And I realize today that I've been gone too much. Even when I'm here, I've been gone." Scarlet squeezed his hand. "But you're here now." "I am, and I want to be here more. Not just watching from my office. Actually here, with you. Promise?" Iris asked from his lap, her small voice hopeful. Marcus thought about all the broken promises his daughters had experienced. Their mother leaving, 17 caregivers quitting, a world that kept telling them what they couldn't do. "I promise," he said. "I promise to show up, to be present, to learn how to be the father you deserve." "You already are, Daddy," Willow said. "You just forgot for a little while." Marcus pulled all 4 girls closer, held them like he should have been holding them for 18 months, and actually cried the way he'd needed to since Victoria left, since the doctors gave their diagnosis, since fear became his only way of loving. Elena watched from the doorway, smiled softly, then quietly walked away to give them privacy. That night, Marcus didn't go to his office, didn't check the security feeds, didn't review protocols or prepare termination letters or build cases for why trust was dangerous. He stayed with his daughters, helped Elena with bath time awkwardly, not knowing what to do, but trying. Read bedtime stories in a voice that shook with emotion, tucked each girl into bed with a kiss on the forehead. "Night, Daddy," they said, one after another. "Good night, my beautiful girls," he whispered back. When they were asleep, Marcus found Elena in the kitchen, cleaning up from dinner. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For today, for the garden, for breaking my protocols, for loving my daughters better than I knew how to." Elena dried her hands on a towel. "Mr. Chen." "Marcus, please, just Marcus." She smiled. "Marcus, your daughters don't need perfect, they just need present, and today, you were present. That's everything. I want to keep being present, but I don't know how to do this, how to balance work and being the father they need. How to let go of control without feeling like everything will fall apart. One day at a time," Elena said simply. "One choice at a time. Today you chose them. Tomorrow you choose them again. That's how you build a life, one choice at a time." Marcus nodded slowly. "Will you help me? Will you teach me how to see what you see in them?" "Of course. That's why I'm here." "No," Marcus said. "I mean, will you stay? Not just as someone I hired. As family, as someone who's part of this, because my daughters love you. And He stopped. "I need you. We need you. All of us." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not going anywhere, Marcus. I told your daughters I stay. That's a promise I keep." The next morning, Marcus woke up early. Instead of going to his office, he went to the kitchen. Elena was already there, humming while making breakfast. "Let me help," Marcus said. Elena looked surprised. "You don't have to. I want to learn. Show me." They cooked together, Elena teaching, Marcus learning. He burned toast, scrambled the eggs too long. But when his daughters came to the table, He served them breakfast he'd made with his own hands. Daddy made breakfast? Scarlett asked, surprised. He did, Elena confirmed. He wanted to do something special for you. It tastes different, Jade observed. Different bad? Marcus asked, nervous. Different good, Jade clarified. Like you, put love in it. That's what Miss Elena says, food tastes better when you make it thinking about the person. Marcus's chest tightened. I was thinking about all of you. We can tell, Willow said, smiling. That afternoon Marcus cancelled his meetings, all of them. Sent emails explaining he needed time with family. His business partner David called immediately. Are you serious? The Henderson deal. We'll wait, Marcus said firmly. Or won't. Either way, I have something more important to do. More important than $40 million. Yes, much more important. He took his daughters outside, to the garden where Elena had taught them to walk. This time, he was the one guiding them, learning from Elena how to let them explore safely. Hand out in front of you, Scarlett. Feel for the tree. That's it. You found it. I did it, Daddy. I found the tree. You did, baby. I'm so proud of you. They spent 2 hours in that garden. Marcus learning his daughters' courage, their determination, their joy in discovering the world through touch and sound and smell. When they came inside, dirty and sweaty and laughing, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 18 months. Peace. Real peace. Not the false peace of control. The real peace of presence. That night, after the girls were in bed, Marcus sat with Elena on the back porch. The compound was quiet around them. Beautiful in a way Marcus had stopped noticing. I've been thinking, he said carefully, about changes, real changes. What kind of changes? I want to work from home 3 days a week, be here for breakfast, for afternoon activities, for bedtime, actually be a father, not just a provider. Elena smiled. The girls would love that. And I want to stop the surveillance obsession. I mean, keep the security system for safety, but stop watching every minute. Stop treating you like you're going to betray us. Stop letting fear control everything. That's a big change. I know, and I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of waking up 5 years from now and realizing I missed my daughter's childhood because I was too busy watching screens. Elena reached over and squeezed his hand. You're going to be an amazing father, Marcus. You already are. You're just learning how to show it. I couldn't do this without you, Marcus said. You've changed everything. Changed them, changed me. I just reminded you what was already there, Elena said gently. Your love for your daughters never went away. It just got buried under fear. But it was always there, waiting. Marcus looked at this woman who'd walked into his life 8 weeks ago with nothing but faith and patience, who'd loved his daughters without hesitation, who'd shown him that control and love were two very different things. Elena, he said carefully, I know this might be inappropriate. I know you're my employee and this crosses lines, but, Marcus, Elena interrupted gently, I need to say this. You're not just someone I hired. You're family. My daughters call you Mama when they think I'm not listening. They love you. And he stopped. I'm falling in love with you, with who you are, with how you love, with the family we're becoming together. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Marcus, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Needed to be honest about what's happening. Because I'm done hiding, done pretending, done watching life through screens instead of living it. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice soft but steady. When I lost my daughter Joy, I thought I'd lost my purpose for living. I thought God kept me alive by mistake, that I was just walking through days waiting to die. Then I heard about your family, about 4 girls everyone said were impossible, about a father drowning in fear. And something in my spirit said, this is why you're still here. This is your purpose. She looked at Marcus with eyes full of emotion. I didn't come here expecting to fall in love. I came here to care for 4 beautiful girls. But these past 8 weeks, her voice broke, I've fallen in love with all 5 of you, with your daughters who taught me that hearts can heal, and with you, Marcus, with the man you're becoming, with the father you're learning to be. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. So yes, Elena continued, I want to be family, really family, not just their caregiver, not just someone you hired. I want to be part of this, all of it, if you'll have me. Marcus stood up. pulled Elena to her feet, and kissed her gently, carefully, like she was something precious he'd been afraid to hope for. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "We should probably tell the girls," Elena said, laughing through tears. "They already know," Marcus said. "They knew before we did." From inside the house, they heard giggling. All 4 girls were pressed against the window, watching, grinning like they'd just witnessed their greatest victory. "They're spying on us," Elena observed. "Learned it from me," Marcus admitted. They walked inside together. 4 girls rushed at them, all talking at once. "Are you married now? Is Miss Elena our mama for real? Does this mean she stays forever? Can we have a sister?" Marcus and Elena looked at each other and laughed, really laughed, the kind of laughter that comes from joy instead of fear. "One thing at a time," Elena said, gathering girls into her arms. "But yes, I'm staying forever, that's a promise." 6 months passed. The house transformed, not with renovations or expensive upgrades, with life. Marcus worked from home Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The office had adjusted. The world hadn't ended. His business actually thrived because he was happier, more focused, more present in all areas of his life. He learned to cook, still not great, but improving. Learned to guide his daughters through their world without controlling it. Learned that being a father wasn't about having all the answers. It was about being there when questions came. The girls bloomed. Scarlett started learning Braille, determined to read chapter books by herself. Jade discovered music piano lessons with a teacher who specialized in teaching blind students. She was gifted, her fingers finding melodies with confidence and joy. Willow started telling stories, long, elaborate tales she made up. Elena bought her a special recording device so she could save them. They were beautiful, full of imagination and hope, and worlds where different wasn't less, just different. And Iris, sweet, observant Iris, became the family's emotional compass. She could tell when someone was sad just by listening to their voice, could sense tension and diffuse it with simple observations. She was wise beyond her years, and Marcus marveled at her daily. Elena moved from the employee suite to the master bedroom. Not immediately. They took it slow, wanting to do everything right. But eventually, naturally, she became what she'd always been, the heart of their home. One evening, Marcus came home from the office with a small box in his pocket. The girls were in the playroom with Elena, working on an art project, textured paintings they could feel, even though they couldn't see them. "Girls," Marcus said from the doorway, "can I borrow Miss Elena for a minute?" "Are you going to kiss her again?" Jade asked matter-of-factly. "Maybe," Marcus admitted, "but I need to ask her something first." 4 girls started giggling. They knew. Somehow they knew. Marcus led Elena to the garden, the same garden where everything had changed 8 months ago. "This is where I first saw them walk," Marcus said. "Where I first understood how much I'd been missing, how much you'd given us." "Marcus, let me finish," he said gently. He pulled out the box, opened it. A simple ring with 4 small stones, one for each of his daughters. "Elena Rodriguez, you came into our lives when we were all drowning. You saved my daughters by believing in them. You saved me by showing me what love actually looks like, and now I can't imagine a single day without you in it." He knelt down on the garden path. "My daughters already call you Mama. They already love you. And I love you with everything I have. Will you marry me? Will you make this family official? Will you let us love you forever the way you've loved us?" Elena's hands covered her mouth, tears streaming. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Marcus. 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring on her finger, stood, pulled her close. Behind them, they heard cheering. All 4 girls had followed them outside, were jumping and screaming with joy. "She said yes! We're getting a mama! I told you she'd say yes!" Elena and Marcus turned, and 4 girls crashed into them, all talking at once, all laughing, all crying happy tears. A family, not perfect, not traditional, but real, built from broken pieces that had been carefully, lovingly put back together. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. They held it in the garden on a warm September afternoon. 4 flower girls walked down an aisle marked with ribbon they could feel beneath their feet. Each wore a dress in a different color, Scarlett in red, Jade in green, Willow in purple, Iris in blue. Colors they'd never see, but that meant something anyway. Elena wore a simple white dress, Marcus wore a suit, but what mattered wasn't what they wore. It was the vows they spoke. "I promise to show up," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion, "to be present, to choose you and our daughters every single day, to love with my whole heart instead of my fear. I promise to stay," Elena said, "through hard days and easy ones, through fear and faith, through everything. Because that's what love does, it stays." As they kissed, something landed on Iris's outstretched hand. She gasped. "Something's on me, something really light." Elena looked. Her breath caught. "It's a butterfly, Mija. A beautiful white butterfly." Iris stood very still, feeling the delicate weight. "Like your story. The one about the girl who learned that beauty isn't just what you see." The butterfly stayed for a long moment, then lifted, flying in a spiral around the family before disappearing into the sky. "That was Mama Victoria," Scarlett said quietly. "She came to tell us she's happy we have a new mama now." Marcus looked at his oldest daughter. "You think so?" "I know so. She's watching, and she's glad we're not sad anymore." Whether it was true or not, Marcus chose to believe it. Chose to believe that somewhere Victoria had found peace, that she could see her daughters thriving, that she understood what he'd finally learned, that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up and staying and choosing to heal. That night, after the celebration ended and the girls were asleep, Marcus and Elena stood in the garden one more time. "Happy?" Elena asked. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Marcus replied. He pulled her close. "Thank you for not giving up on us, for seeing what I was too afraid to see. Thank you for being brave enough to change," Elena said, "for choosing love over fear." They stood in the darkness, surrounded by the garden where everything had changed, where blind daughters had learned to walk, where a terrified father had learned to trust, where broken pieces had found their way back together, and in the house behind them, 4 girls slept peacefully, safe, loved, part of a family that chose each other. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. 2 years later, the Chen house was full. 4 girls, now 6.5 years old, arguing over whose turn it was to set the table. A toddler, Marcus and Elena's son, Daniel, banging on pots in the corner, a rescue dog named Hope barking at the chaos. Marcus stood in the kitchen doorway, watching his wife direct the beautiful mess. "Scarlett, please help your brother wash his hands." "Jade, the chicken needs 5 more minutes." "Willow, that's a beautiful story, write it down for me." "Iris, can you help set the table?" Perfect orchestration of imperfect love. He thought about the man he'd been 3 years ago, drowning in surveillance feeds, trusting no one, protecting his daughters by building walls around them. That man was gone. In his place stood someone different, someone who still got scared sometimes, but who chose trust anyway, someone who made mistakes daily, but showed up to fix them, someone who measured success not in dollars or deals, but in laughter around dinner tables and goodnight kisses and daughters who believed they could do anything. "Daddy," Iris called. "Dinner's ready." Marcus walked into the kitchen, sat at the table with his family, held Elena's hand while they said grace. "Thank you for this food," Elena prayed. "Thank you for this family. Thank you for proving that broken things can become whole, that fear can become faith, that people who've been hurt can learn to love again." "Amen," 4 girls said together. "Amen," Marcus echoed. He looked around the table. At his daughters who'd taught him that strength has nothing to do with sight. At his wife who'd shown him that love requires presence, not control. At his son who'd never know a father ruled by fear. At a family that shouldn't exist by the world's logic. A family built from loss and fear and broken pieces, but built nonetheless, not with money or protocols or surveillance systems, with trust, with presence, with someone brave enough to stay when staying was hard. Elena caught his eye, smiled, and Marcus smiled back, grateful beyond words for the woman who'd walked through his door 3 years ago and refused to leave. The woman who'd saved them all by teaching them the simplest, hardest truth. Love isn't about control. Love is about letting go. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.